May I have a motion to return the regular board meeting to public session? Mr. Bullen, second Dr. Spicer, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. I call the regular board meeting to order. All board members are present. Mr. Bullen, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, kind of melodic in the audience tonight. Notice that?
Please be advised that in the event of a fire emergency and an evacuation should be necessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone turn their cell phones and other electronic devices to silent. Thank you. Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it over to you for recognition.
Thank you very much, President. This is great because tonight we get to honor a truly cool dude. So tonight we are recognizing not only a principal, but a leader in the athletic excellence. Principal Keith Wing helped lead the district effort to expand our athletic programs to include girls varsity flag football. He serves as the head coach of the Williamsville South varsity flag football team. Following the culmination of the season, not only were the Billies recognized with a sportsmanship award, Coach Wing was recognized as a Section 6 Division II North Flag Football Coach of the Year. Adding to his impressive work on the field, Coach Wing learned on Monday that he will also serve as a Section 6 coach during the Section 6 versus Section 5 Girls Flag Football Showcase August 24th at Highmark Stadium during halftime of the Bills and Panthers preseason game. Please welcome and congratulate Principal Keith Wing. The coach, Keith.
Thank you, Dr. Brownhall. That's very nice. So people don't win Coach of the Year awards without great and excellent support from leadership, from family, from assistant coaches, from the players, most importantly, the players. Nobody is voting for a Coach of the Year unless the players are showing great effort, great resilience, great sportsmanship all the time. Very proud of the kids for winning that, and I'm honored, and thank you for the recognition.
Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening, too. Time for some pictures, right, Nick? Awesome. Principal Wing, thank you for everything you do with flag football, and thank you for being an excellent principal at Forest Elementary School. We appreciate it. I turn it back to you, Board President.
Okay, are there any other board acknowledgements this evening? Okay, then I call on Parliamentarian Bluckinger to review our public expression format.
Welcome to all who have come to observe this regular board meeting. Per policy 1510, the board allows for up to 30 minutes of public comment, a time when we invite members of our school community to share ideas, opinions, and concerns with us. While we are here to listen carefully, we take your concerns seriously. Public comment is not designed to be a discussion. Therefore, please do not expect us to respond tonight. Instead, you'll receive a response by email after our meeting. Because we want to maintain mutual respect and civility, please ensure that comments are delivered in a respectful manner to the board directly. Also, under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments related to employee personnel information or any topic that may disclose information about a particular student. On these matters, we ask that you go through the appropriate administrative channels. Please note that the individuals are required to sign up prior to our meeting, and each speaker is allotted 3 minutes for comments. You will be signaled at 2.5 minutes so that you may conclude your remarks. At this time, we will begin public comments. After I call on you, please step up to the podium and state your name. Hello, Angelica.
Hi, Angelica Martino. I'm here today to talk about special education, specifically how the lack of a standards-based 811 classroom at the high school level denies students equitable access to instructional opportunities. One of the district's beliefs is all students should have equitable access to instructional and curricular opportunities to support their success. And unfortunately, that's not occurring. My son Carter is going into 9th grade. His home school is South, and he'll be attending Bosse's Maryvale Academy in September. Since Williamsville doesn't have a standards-based 811, a classroom that many neighboring districts have, Carter will be denied his federal right of a least restrictive environment. Carter doesn't need special education for the entirety of his day. His IEP states Gen Ed for math because he thrives in that subject. If Carter attended a Williamsville school for 9th grade, he would be taking Regents geometry. Again, since Williamsville does not have a full continuum of special ed classrooms, my son, who scored 94 on the algebra Regents exam, will be denied equitable instruction and the opportunity to sit for the geometry Regents exam. The solutions offered by the district for Carter to access the curriculum are not in his best interest, nor are they equitable. Numerous people at the CSE meeting, including his special ed teacher and school counselor, stated there were better solutions that should be explored and suggestions were given. If you're not aware, decisions at a CSE meeting do not have to be unanimous, and the final decision is up to the special ed director, who doesn't even work one-on-one with my son. Again, the district did not listen to the professionals in the building, and while the district is offering my son to have equal access to the curriculum, we all know that equal does not mean equitable. This past June, a report looked at the per pupil spending of the 39 districts in our area. Williamsville was 4th from the bottom. The news article cited students with disabilities requiring smaller class sizes and additional staff as a factor. Congratulations, Williamsville. I'd say you're fiscally responsible for that school year. Unfortunately, you were, are, and continue to be irresponsible when it comes to educating the special needs population. I get it. Providing equitable education to those with special needs is expensive. I've been advocating for my son to have equitable access to math instruction since he was in 6th grade, and I was told that kids like him usually do not get recommended for advanced math. Unless the district provides a solution that prioritizes his needs over the dollar amount, I will have to hire a teacher so my son's special needs don't deny him the appropriate curriculum. Let's keep in mind that if our district had a full continuum of special ed classrooms like many other districts have, we wouldn't be 4th from the bottom, but we would be aligned with our district beliefs. We would be providing free, appropriate education to students of all needs in their least restrictive environment. And none of this would be an issue. Board members, I'm asking you to listen to the individuals, the teachers, the principals in the buildings, because I am not alone when I say that the decisions that come from our district CSE meetings don't always align with our district's #1 belief that students are our highest priority. I find it extremely ironic how the district released a new special education mission statement that states, to ensure access to fair, equitable, and high-quality K-12 education, and at the same time, the district is denying my son an equitable education.
Thanks, Angelica.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Martino. Moving on to item 5A, review of the district's safety plan. Dr. Brown Hall and Mr. Scanzuzzo, I turn it over to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Board President. At this time, we actually discussed the district safety plan at our last meeting. We opened it up for a 30-day comment period, and I'll discuss that in the community update. And we received 4 comments. The comments really focused on building-specific safety plans, and those any questions or concerns about the building specific safety plans are addressed in the building plans. We don't make those public because it's important that we keep those confidential. That's the feedback that we got for the 30-day comment period. And so the district safety plan is as is in board docs.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Hall. Are there any questions or comments from the board at this time? Okay, we will move on. We will now have our public hearing on the district safety plan only. As far as I know, no one has signed up for the public hearing. So if there is anyone present in the audience who would like to speak regarding the district safety plan, please step up to the podium at this time. Okay, seeing none. We will move on to our next agenda item, which is reviewing the veterans tax exemption. Dr. Brown-Hall and Mr. Kelly, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Board President, and I'll have Mr. Kelly speak very briefly about this. But this came up a couple of meetings ago. I know Mr. Board Member Manna asked during Committee of the Whole that we explore moving to the next level of veterans tax exemption. And at that time, we wanted to explore doing that, but we were waiting on accurate numbers, and we partnered with the county for that. So at this time, I know there is a recommendation to move from a level C to a level B. And if Mr. Kelly can just shed some light on that and what that will mean. We do have the data and the numbers in board docs to show how that will affect veterans, whether it be wartime, combat zone, or disability, moving from a level B to a level C. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Kelly to see if he has anything else to add.
Sure, appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. The Board of Education asked us to take a look at this and to sort of provide some information and data of what it would mean for the district to go from a level C veterans exemption to a level B veterans exemption. Level C being sort of that base where we currently are, level B being slightly more generous to the veterans, the eligible veterans that live in our community. One of the pieces of data that the board asked for was, what would it actually mean for a non-veteran taxpayer in the district if we went from that level C exemption to the level B? And if your house was assessed at $250,000, it would mean an additional $2.50 annually on your school taxes to make that jump. And I also looked at 400,000, that would be an additional $4 a year. And at $600,000 of assessed value, it would be an additional $6 on your tax bill. Next, I took a look at the different levels of exemptions. What is the maximum exemption for each of these levels? So if you're at level C and you're a eligible wartime veteran, your exemption, your maximum exemption would go from $6,000 up to $9,000. If you're a combat zone eligible veteran at level C, you would have a $4,000 maximum exemption. That would increase to $6,000. And if you're a disabled level C veteran and you go to level B, your exemption would go from a maximum of $20,000 up to a maximum of $30,000. The next piece of data the board was looking for was, well, what does that actually mean for a veteran, and what would that look like on their tax bill? So for a house assessed at $250,000 and you are a wartime eligible veteran at the level C exemption, to move to the level B exemption, your taxes would decrease from these. This is school taxes only now, does not include property taxes, which are separate. You would go from school taxes of $2,849 down to $2,814. So you see there's, a little bit of a difference in a break for the taxpayers. We've had, a lot of comments from people, and they wanted to say, what would that actually mean for a veteran? What does it actually mean for a non-veteran? And I think the data and information that was posted on board docs gives a pretty clear picture of what that would mean.
Absolutely.
I hope everybody had an opportunity to review that, and I'm not sure if there's any additional questions.
Are there any questions or comments from board members at this time? Mr. Biscaglia?
Mr. Kelly, I just appreciate that you added the 400,000 and 600,000 values. As we all know, Williamsville properties are increasing. Previously, it was always 250,000. It's good to see different levels, kind of how it is now in terms of Williamsville property assessments. So
I just had a comment.
Mr. Manna?
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, thank you for this work. Very detail-minded. It's really exactly what the information a board needs to know, because you're really cost shifting, and it's all on, what's the purpose of it? And in this case, I think the board's had multiple discussions. I think we had a veteran, come to the board meeting and talk to some of us, to give these veterans a small break and to not overburden the rest of the taxpayers is really the goal. So I know further on our agenda, we have a public hearing we're going to have, and maybe we'll get more comments from the general public. I mean, I'm in support of it. It's and thank you again for your hard work on this.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Okay, so seeing none, we will now have our public hearing on the veterans tax exemptions. Again, I don't believe anyone has signed up in advance, but if anyone present in the audience would like to speak regarding the veteran tax exemptions, please make your way to the podium. And I don't see a mad rush, so. I will make a comment that we will plan to have this on the board agenda in September to be voted for approval. So if anyone does have anything at home that is watching this, you would have the opportunity at public expression at our September meeting to make any comments. Otherwise, we will likely be voting on that at our September meeting.
It's for 25, 26.
Yes, and that would go into effect for the 2025-2026 school year. Thank you for that clarification. And Dr. Brown-Hall, then I'll turn it over to you for items 7A through 7E.
Once again, thank you very much, Board President. Nick, can you pull up the community update? Thank you. The community update for August 13th, 2024. First things first, back to school. The first day of school is Tuesday, September 3rd. I will let you know all of our building principals, assistant principals, our interim principals and interim assistant principals are hard at work making sure that we're preparing for our staff development days and for the return of students. So families, students, remember, our first day back is Tuesday, September 3rd. All elementary and middle school supply lists are available on the school and district websites and the district app. So Mr. Filipowski will be presenting about the district app in one moment. Please check the WICS event calendar for events and activities throughout the school year. We know that many of our schools have welcome back to school events and activities that take place. So please make sure you're checking your school's WICS event calendar. Transportation. Bus route information will be available the week of August 26th. Information on special education bus routes will be mailed on Monday, August 19th. And something that was very popular that we did last year, special education students and their parents will have the opportunity to meet their school bus driver on Tuesday, August 27th at Maple East Elementary School. So specific details will be provided in the route letters that are sent to parents and guardians on August 19th. Administrative hires. So pending Board of Education approval, this evening, we will have a new principal for Williamsville North High School, Mr. Andrew Bowen. Mr. Bowen is currently the principal of Country Parkway Elementary School and has been for 10 years. He has agreed to take that experience and talent over to Williamsville North as our new principal there. We welcome new to our district, Mr. Adam Buffamonte, who will be principal at Heim Middle School. He comes to us from Grand Island, where he was an administrator there. And next we have Scott Bialek, who will be the assistant principal at Williamsville South High School. And Mr. Bialek comes to us from the Cleve Hill Middle School, where he was assistant principal there. Now, some administrative hires will go into late September or October. And you may be asking, well, which administrator hires are those? We will need to hire an assistant principal at High Middle School. Laura Maranto has been hired as a new principal at North Tonawanda Middle School. We will need to hire an assistant principal at North High School, replacing Kate Wendling, who is now the new principal at Maple West, and Kate is joining us this evening in the audience. We will need to hire a principal at Country Parkway Elementary to replace Mr. Andrew Bowen. We will also need to hire a principal at East High School. Mr. Brian Swatland has been hired to oversee all of secondary education for the Dunkirk City School. We will need to also hire an assistant principal at South High School because Mr. Adam Erickson has been hired as the new principal in Erie 2 BOCES. So we have a little bit more hiring to do, and we will definitely do that. I thank all of our administrators, all of our teachers, and community members who have sat on the interview hiring teams. It is very time consuming, but we want to make sure we're hiring the best best for our district and for our students. We also want to welcome and thank retired administrators that are coming back to fill the gap until we have hired individuals. We want to thank Mr. Joel Weiss, who will be the interim principal at Williamsville East. Many of you know Mr. Weiss. He is a parent and grandparent in the district. He is actually an interim administrator that we had at Middle School the year before last. Mr. Gil Licata. Mr. Licata is right now the interim principal at Williamsville North. After that position finishes, because Andrew will start on August 26th, Mr. Licata will then transition over and help us at High Middle School as the assistant principal there. Mr. Kevin Lester is going to be assistant principal interim and athletic director at Williamsville South in place of Adam Erickson. And Mr. Mike Ballman, who was recently the superintendent in Newfane a year ago, will be the interim principal at High Middle School until Mr. Adam Buffamonte begins. We will also have Dr. Cassandra Wright as the interim principal at Country Parkway once Mr. Bowen transitions to North High School. See, I got that all right, right? There's a lot. It's a lot, but it's all good. It is all good. And so we thank all of the individuals who are stepping in interim positions coming out of retirement to help us. And we thank all of the individuals that have shown interest in becoming administrators in Williamsville. We greatly appreciate it. Our parent organizations, I had the pleasure of having a meeting with the co-presidents of our PTSA Council last Friday, Ms. Lydia Ramos and Endel Osuna, and we had a very productive meeting. So we've got a great partnership. We're going to continue that. They agreed to co-sponsor the Superintendent Speaker Series for next year. I want to encourage all of our parents in the district that you want to visit each school's website, because the websites feature information about our PTAs, our PTSAs, and SEPSA. So you want to go to the About Us link for the PTA and PTSA information and really take part in your school's parent organizations. If you can't attend every meeting, please pay attention to the volunteer opportunities. That really helps our PTAs and PTSA deliver great programming for our students, and we appreciate that. Our speaker series this year, and this is in response to the feedback the Board of Education got at the very last community forum last year. This year, in partnership with the PTSA Council, the district will once again be hosting the speaker series virtually, but this year we will be focusing on instruction. There were a good number of questions about curriculum and instruction, and parents found it very useful when we had some of that last year in the speaker series. So we're going to continue to do more of that. And we will tape these, and they'll be available as a resource for our parents on the website. Now, if you have any questions or you want to ask about a topic being offered, you want to email contact@williamsvillek12.org, and in the subject line, put speaker series topics. Our community forums, the Board of Education's community forums, the first will be on September 28th from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. We will let you know where that location will be. And in the spring, it will be on March 25th following the budget work session. The board enjoys it when you as a community and parents come out, and that's when you're able to have a conversation with the Board of Education members. You can't do it here when you speak at the podium during the speaker time at the beginning for 3 minutes, but you are able to do that at the community forum. Our district safety plan, we did speak about that during the 30-day comment period, which closed on July 31st. We did receive 4 comments, really specific about the building-based plans. So in accordance with NICED regulations, communication is required to be sent home prior to drills being conducted. That is a change that will be in each of the building plans. Communication will be sent home before we conduct our drills. School start times. So you may remember at the end of last school year, we did ask for student, parent, and teacher volunteers to sit on the focus groups for our school start time focus groups. Our committee has been working all last year reviewing the research. That research is posted on our website. We had 260 individuals that inquired about being part of the focus groups. Initially, I thought it was 400. I know I said that before, but it was 260 because there were some that were duplicative. We will be holding a lottery on Friday, August 23rd, and the individuals who actually will be chosen for the focus groups will be notified by Friday, September 6th. As you all know, we can't have focus groups too large because then we really don't get a lot of work accomplished. So we will have smaller focus groups between the 10 to 15 person range. And if you are chosen for that from the lottery, we will notify you by September 6th. District administrators and the Board of Education are attending the National School Start Times Conference in October. So there is a school start time conference in October. I know Board Member Poulin is attending. Some administrators and teachers on the School Start Time Committee will also be attending, and that conference is in Baltimore. School Start Times webpage features research and information. And that is the community update. So we have several additional presentations this evening. We have a family support center presentation, and Dr. Denise Steppenbeck will do that. We have a homework grading and reporting presentation, and Dr. Marie Bellin will do that. And then we have our app presentation, and Nick Filipowski will do that. So we will start backwards. We'll have Nick go first, followed by Dr. Steppenbeck, and then Dr. Bellin will bring it on home. Nick? There is a lot of information this evening, and I appreciate you all for being here. This is great information we're sharing this evening. Thank you. Nick Filipowski is our Executive Director of District Communications, and he helped and really spearheaded the rebranding of our district. So Nick, thank you for all of that work, and take it away, and let's talk about the district app.
Yes, so this has been a very, very long process. Thinking about everything that we've been through over the last 2+ years, the logo redesign and rebranding for the district website, and which I know I presented on in March of this year before the launch in April, and now we've kind of come full circle now with the development and the launch of the district app. We can pull that presentation up, Mr. Morales. So yes, we do have a new district app that is available in both the App Store and Google Play. If you simply search for the Williamsville Central School District, you will see the district logo, icon, and app that will be displayed. Just to be clear, I know we talked about this when Mr. Biscali was asking questions when I presented on the district website. It is a district app, but we do have pathways built in so that stakeholders can find school-specific information and items and receive notifications from their schools as well. So in terms of data and information, I want to be just explicitly clear with everybody that the app is reading off the website and reformatting pages into a mobile responsive format. When we started this process of building the app and developing it with our vendor Final Site, there were multiple databases that they had automatically integrated based on information from the district and some of the systems that we use already. We ultimately decided it's better to use one database rather than multiple databases. That way we're not trying to play, well, did we update it here or did we update it there? And why is this missing here? And why is that here instead of there? So the best course, we decided managing one database, not multiple. So it is reading off the district website, as I mentioned. So when changes are made, they are reflected both on the website and the app. There's some nuances to that, but that's more for Mr. Morales and myself to work on the back end. But all the forward-facing information essentially is reading off of the district website. So what is included in the district app? So here's a list of all the information that was built and developed specifically for the app. And throughout the course of the school year, we do have the ability to modify based on analytics and feedback from stakeholders. So we launched the app. We have the information on the district website. We're going to send out a notification tomorrow. Stakeholder feedback, we welcome that. We want that. We need that. That way we can continue to improve, refine, and make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our stakeholders. So district and school information, we'll go over that a little more in a second. Contact us, district directory and calendar, a link to the WITS login portal, street directory, employment, registration, obviously with the beginning of school, school supply list as well for the start of school, along with parent organization information, transportation information, lunch menus, links to our school start times and cell phone policy research and information pages, curriculum overview, that's full K-12 that we integrated when we launched the website. That's also included on the district app. Information for athletics, music and art, the district newsletter, and resources, which include the strategic plan, the DEI plan, code of conduct, and currently the draft version of the district safety plan. So when it comes to district and school information, we know in our communications plan that we've kind of reimagined since 2020. Accessibility and availability is a big part of what we do, why we do, and how we do. So if you click into district and school information, you'll see a listing of all of district. You'll see a listing for the district and see those internal offices, Office of Exceptional Education and Student Services, Human Resources, Instruction, Communications as well. If you need to reach out to a building or administrator, if you click in their respective school, you'll get the phone number, address, website, link to the school calendar, specific offices like the health office, attendance office, guidance and school counselors. You'll also get the list of administrators in the building, where if you click their photos and their profile, you'll get contact information for them as well. So how to follow your school? To answer Mr. Viscalia's question from back in March when we presented. So if you go into settings, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of the app, if anybody in the audience wants to download and follow along, you can do that too. We'll take that feedback. All right, I see Ona back there. In the bottom right-hand corner of the app, it'll bring you to this screen where you can select the schools you want to follow and receive information from. And by default, just so everybody is aware, when you download the app, you'll automatically be enrolled to follow the district. Stakeholders have the ability to unenroll from that and just follow their school, but the default is you follow the district as well, which I'm okay with. In this example, we're using Williamsville East, and individuals will have the option to receive all. That includes inbox messages and updates from social media, and we're going to dive into a little bit of that and what that means for stakeholders when they access the app. So inbox messages are push notifications that will go to the app, which are sent through our e-alert system. This is where I want to clarify things for everybody so that there's no points of confusion. If you get text messages and emails from us for emergencies, weather closings, delays, etc., by selecting inbox messages, you will also receive push notifications to the app. Stakeholders will have the ability to unenroll in that option if they don't want another alert when I press send at 6 o'clock in the morning. Totally get it. But it is another pathway to receive updates and information from the district. If they deselect inbox messages, individuals won't receive the push notifications. It does not impact their ability to get text messages or emails. So whether they receive push notifications or not, text messages and emails, robocalls, they will still get. For social media, on the landing page, if you enroll to or enable the functions and features for Facebook and X, which is formerly Twitter, those social media feeds will populate on the main landing page of the app. If individuals do not select any social media feeds to follow, they'll just see the icons and the information of the app presented. This is a great feature of the app, the translation function. We're really proud of this and our vendor for making sure that regardless of the language spoken by stakeholders in our district, they have the ability to receive the information that is necessary for their success and their students' success. So they can select languages, and there's more than 100 languages available that are integrated with the app. And when they return to the home screen, that the information in the app, once they select the language, will automatically be translated. The example here is going to be Spanish. And I do want to point out, the translate function translate the app content. So if they navigate to our mobile responsive pages, there's an additional step that they will have to take to enable translation on those pages. And essentially, once they navigate to content within the app, so the example here is the district directory, the app content, the icon, the image, that's translated to Spanish. They have to follow the navigation tools to translate in Google Translate, which is similar to what's already integrated on the district website. They select the language there, and then the information on that page will translate. So obviously, as we approach the start of the new school year, we want everybody to download and go through the app. Links to access the app are on their screen. You can scan the QR code. They're both hyperlinked on the presentation that's available in board docs. And I do want to highlight one piece. We do have an informational video that is similar to this presentation that is available on the district website. Over the course of the summer, we do have 3 interns, Bella and Alessia from Williamsville East and Shiloh from Williamsville North. This was one of the first projects that we tasked them with. We recorded the audio, built the slides, asked them to put it together, and they did an exceptional job. It's a small piece, but it's critical to our success in the district and giving them hands-on experience with communication and sharing information with stakeholders. And with that, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Yes, Mr. Biscaglia.
I'm not technological illiterate or anything, but I'm assuming there's a button to click, like if your kids move on from a school to unenroll in that school.
Yeah, so in the follow
Oh.
schools function, yeah, you have the ability
Or
to
settings and
follow. Yep, you go into settings, you can follow Maple West as an example. If they move to the middle school, you can unenroll from Maple West and just follow the middle school that they're in then. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Executive Director Filipowski.
You bet.
Next, absolutely, yeah, so much work has gone into that. Thanks for assisting Assistant Director Morales. Next, we will have Dr. Denise Steppenbeck, who will be presenting about the Family Support Center.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight and to share
There we go.
the voices and of the lived experiences of some of our students and families. As the Director of Student Services, I have the opportunity to and the responsibility for ensuring that all of our students have access to the wonderful teaching, faculty, programs, curriculum, and community that is the hallmark of our Williamsville Central School District education. In my first year in this role here, I have listened and learned, and what I've understood from what I have heard is that there are still a number of families who are struggling to access education in our typical school environment. And what I'm here to talk about tonight is how the vision from Dr. Brown Hall, the support from Mr. Scanzuzo, and the tireless efforts of our mental health staff have really rolled up our sleeves this year and looked to answer the questions of what are the barriers that do exist for our families? Why do they exist? And what can we do to mitigate some of the factors that are presenting challenges for our families? And so tonight I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of the solutions that we are implementing this school year in terms of our Family Support Center. This statistic was shared with all of you and the community in our comprehensive counseling plan this past spring. So in June, you may have read this statistic, but I believe that it's worth repeating. We have in our high schools alone, roughly 20% of our students who are absent for 15 or more days of school. And we have almost 6 to 9% of our students in our high schools who are chronically absent, meaning they miss more than 25 days of school. For those of you trying to calculate the math in your head, that is roughly 250 high school students in the Williamsville Central School District who are chronically absent. Okay. A few more statistics that I didn't feel comfortable sharing here in the public forum, but we'll share with you all as we continue this conversation. Of those 250 students, more than 52 students have come through the Office of Student Services for home instruction. In our home instruction program, we service students who are medically fragile and are homebound. We service students who are suspended. We service students who are undergoing medical procedures and are temporarily unable to attend school. But the majority of students that we service are students that are hospitalized in ECMC or Brylin for mental health crises, or who are unable to attend school for mental health reasons. That is the largest percentage of the students that we service in home instruction. So one of the things that we have been talking about is how do we foster the capacity of our families to proactively address school avoidance and mental health challenges of our youth? Okay. What are the reasons that students are struggling to come to school? Some of those answers are coming from the students themselves that we've talked to. Some of them are coming from the families that come through the home instruction process that are working with our counselors, our social workers, and our mental health staff. In order to address the needs of our home instruction population, we really have to come to a site-based program model. When you have more than 50 students at any given time receiving home instruction services, and for our high school students, that means a tutor for math, a tutor for ELA, a tutor for social studies, a tutor for science, a tutor for foreign language, if we can find them. So multiply the number of students in home instruction by the number of instructors that are needed, and you can see where we're having a crisis of not being able to provide adequate services for our students that need that. So the model that we are proposing to initiate this fall, that will be beginning in September, on September 16th, is the site-based home instruction services model through our Family Support Center at AIM. In this way, we will have services Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30 for any of our students who are in the home instruction process, whether it's being referred or they've been through home instruction and they need some additional support. Those students are eligible to come to our Family Support Center at AIM from 3:30 to 6:30, Monday through Friday. In addition to the home instruction services, we felt it critical to ensure that there are resources available for those students to receive additional mental health support as needed. So the counselors from Spectrum Mental Health, who are currently working in our high schools and our middle schools, will be available on a rotating basis 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, to provide additional one-on-one counseling and family counseling at the Family Support Center at AIM. We know that the single most important protective factor for youth is a relationship with one trusted adult. Our goal at the Family Support Center at AIM for the fall is to ensure that every student that comes through our door is connected with an adult. Many of our instructors will be teachers that are in our high school buildings that are supporting students after school hours. That is the majority of our home instructors. So we are going to strategically work with students to ensure that they're connected with teachers that they'll see in the buildings, that they're connected with Spectrum mental health counselors that they'll see in their buildings, so that when they are able to start to bridge the return to school, they will have at least that one person that will help them in that journey. Our Family Support Center response has been tremendous from our current list of home instructors. Despite being away on summer vacation, we have a tremendous response from the home instructor list that we currently have of our teachers. All of our teachers are certified teachers. They will be providing instruction in all content areas while at the Family Support Center. What it will look like is that there will be a designated room for English language arts, mathematics, social studies, science, foreign language, and any additional special areas that we can service. We will also have special education teachers who will be available in the Family Support Center during the 3:30 to 6:30 hours. Students will come in, they will be greeted by the coordinator of the Family Support Center, who will be responsible for ensuring that all of the work coming from either the high schools or the middle schools, because we will provide support from grades 7 through 12, will be able to direct students where to go to receive that instruction, and they will rotate from spot to ensure that all of the content area needs that they have are being met. I have created a Google form in which I will be surveying our home instructor list every 2 months. Teachers are signing up for particular days and times that they will be available to provide home instruction. So we will at all times know what we can provide and what resources we have available for our students. Currently, we have 14 home instructors already signed up, and we are getting more responses every day. In addition, we had a posting available on WinnieRic for the community at large. We had 25 additional applicants. Of those applicants who were screened and offered screening interviews, we have already hired an additional 7 home instructors in the last 2 weeks. The Family Support Center at AIM is not for credit recovery. Despite being housed in the AIM building, we are not in the business of providing credit recovery for students who either want to catch up with credits that they've missed in previous absenteeism or want to get ahead with their education. For those students, the AIM program during the day is the right fit for them. This program is designed to support the students who need additional help bridging from where they are at home or in a hospital setting to getting them back into school. We will still continue to provide individual home instruction at hospital sites and or home sites for those students who are medically fragile or are homebound, or for whatever reason cannot make it to the home instruction site at AIM. Going forward, we know we have a lot of work to do yet. This is our first year, and this is the piece that we felt was the most critical to bite off at this time. But going forward, we know that the Family Support Center can serve as a vehicle for providing resources and services that will strengthen some protective factors that are critical to ensuring that students have community connections and that families are getting the resources and support that they need. These are some of the protective factors that we will be focusing on. One of the things that we know for our students that are currently experiencing school avoidance or some mental health challenges is that it puts a significant strain on parental and child relationships and also of parents themselves. I receive a number of phone calls of parents who need a listening ear and who need to hear that they are not alone, that their experiences are real, and that they can do this, and that we're here to support them. So going forward, some of the pieces of the parental resilience and social connections for families are a critical next step for us. You may have participated in meal trains for people that are ill or who have had accidents. But I can venture to guess that not many of us have ever brought a casserole to the hospital at ECMC or Bryland when a child is receiving services for a mental health crisis. Those are things we don't often talk about. And we hope that the Family Support Center will be a place that families can come together to share those conversations and to grow in their connections to other families who are walking similar paths. Beyond this, we will take a look at servicing some of our younger families and younger students in terms of knowledge of child development and resources for social and emotional competence building in children. Right now, we are dealing with the reactive portion of our need, but eventually our plan is to grow to the proactive portion of our need. Additionally, we currently have many supports in place in the district. We have many buildings that do food drives. We have a food pantry in place. We have resources for families that are experiencing homelessness through our McKinney-Vento program. But eventually, we'd like to funnel that through the Family Support Center as well. So we have some big goals and some big dreams, but we're going to start small and manageable with the most important needs. Our number one goal is to build connection, helping kids to feel safe coming back to a school campus building. They may still be receiving one-on-one support. They may have a group of 2 or 3 other high school students. Maybe they know them, maybe they don't. But they will have an opportunity to start to engage both academically and socially at the Family Support Center at AIM, which is one of the critical pieces that we felt was really, really important to offer our students. Eventually, as we continue to grow, we hope to hear more student voice from the students that are participating at the Family Support Center at AIM and from their peers as we start to grow the program based on the needs of the community. We will continue to partner with public and private agencies. Right now, our partnership is primarily focused on Spectrum Health and counseling services, but we hope to continue to grow those partnerships as we look to expand upon the protective factors model that we wish to employ. And that's where we are with the Family Support Center.
Dr. Stappenbach, thank you very much. And I do want to say this is something that we've been talking about in the district for a while. When I first arrived, I know board members also brought that up to me, asked if that can be one of our goals that we have in place. So I thank you for all of the work that you've done, rather quickly on this since you've come into the district. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will ask Dr. Bellin to come up now and present where we are at with our homework grading and reporting committee. While she's doing that, there is another presentation in board docs that deals with the tax rate calculation. It is a 4-page presentation that Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Management Services, Mr. Mike Kelly, developed. I encourage you to review that. It will not be an official presentation tonight, but if you have any questions, it's very self-explanatory. If you have any questions, feel free to email myself or Assistant Superintendent Kelly about the tax rate and the tax warrant calculations. Dr. Bellin, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Brownhall. Good evening, Board of Education members, and good evening to our community and public. We are very excited to be able to share with you. I'm representing actually quite a number of people. I'll go through who those individuals happen to be, but we have been working to endeavor to really study this topic. It's a broad one at hand, homework grading and assessment. We've worked with some work groups, and I'll share a little bit about the work that we've been doing over the last several years. I did also want to include, certainly this will be a picture of all of the things that have been accomplished to date. There is still quite a bit that we have moving forward, and I will talk about some of our next steps as we're going to do that as well. But first and foremost, recognizing our commitment to ensuring that we're affording a well-rounded, inclusive educational experience for our students, we want to make sure we take several different things into account as we're dealing with these particular topics. Among them are our families, our work, play, and family time, sleep. We've talked about that quite a lot. We've talked about start times at school. The homework grading and reporting and assessment committee carefully considered broad impact that homework has on the well-being of our students and their families. And certainly the committee at this time is not advocating in any way for a ban on homework, nor a mandate to assign it. We do believe strongly that the educators, our teachers, those who are familiar with the students and their families are best positioned to decide how to effectively facilitate student learning, and while taking into account the various considerations outlined and operating, I would say this is very important, with also common expectations and consistency across our schools and our district. So again, we have many schools, we have many sites. What we can assure is a common experience for our students. So location should not dictate the experience when it comes to policies and procedures of this kind. Similarly, as we strive to create an inclusive and dynamic educational experience, we want to make sure that students are empowered to become educated citizens. So similarly, the committee has carefully considered how assessment and grading methods and practices also impact and shape the learning of our students. Education continually evolves and improves, and so do we as practitioners, as educators. And therefore, examining the research and effective methods, our school district recognizes that it is also imperative to reevaluate and update our grading practices, approaches, and policies. So that's really just framing some of the work that we have done. So the charge of the work groups, and I'll talk about who those individuals were, is really to look at the extensive research in these topical areas and form a rationale for any suggested revisions to our homework assessment, grading, and reporting practices. So I would like to thank, there are quite a few names on the screen, and thank you to board members. I know there had been a question about who served and for how long and who the individuals were. All of the names on the screen really are the totality at this point of the number of people that have been involved, and it's over a span of years. That includes members of our Williamsville Teachers Association, the WTA, the WAA, our Williamsville Administrators Association, as well as directors from both offices of instruction as well as exceptional education. What we tried to denote with the asterisk is we have several phases that the work has gone through. The asterisks represent those who have been through all of the phases of the work groups, but we wanted to acknowledge the contributions of these individuals, because while they were individuals coming from the various stakeholder groups that I mentioned, we worked very closely with the bargaining units to select the members who would actually be the voices for those of those larger groups. So while they're individually representing themselves, it is really not their sole opinion that they're bringing to the table. So a lot of work was accomplished. First and foremost, what we actually realized as we set out to do this, because these are large topics, is we had to really come together to talk about and really ground this in the research. What are our beliefs on these topics? That alone took, I would say, the majority of phase one of the work. So when we get into the phases, we really hit, at this point, have a phase one and phase two. We'll be entering the third phase with the work that's coming up. But a great deal of work, effort, energy, and conversation had to be around coming together to talk about the beliefs, because we can't get into practices and routines if we're not all on the same page with regard to the beliefs that ground those particular things. So that comes through a lot of dialogue. And oftentimes, and with topics this large and this close to the heart, there may be differences of opinion, differences of approaches, but ultimately we had to come together to talk about what beliefs can we put on paper that we can share with our community that really represent us as a school district. So a lot of what you'll see here is really speaking to that as well. We had quite a timeline to deal with. If you notice the beginning date, December 2019, several years ago. Phase one, though, however, our planning and our talking, our conversations about the individuals and our charge started in December of 2019. We actually had our first meeting right before schools shut down, in-person learning, and we were all virtual in March of 2020. So our first meeting was right before that occurred. So as you can imagine, even with good intentions, we had to put this aside for a bit. The conversation drastically changed because we were no longer talking about this through the same lens, because we had other things that we are certainly were attending to at the time. But it actually gave us great insight to be able to come back to the conversation. So we did that. So when you see that large span of time, that represents both a starting and also a pausing and then restarting. What we actually did at the time when we reconvened, and we did this with the committee's input, is we talked about the best way to get ourselves back into the conversation, also recognizing that we had a whole host of experiences that we were now bringing to the table that were not expected. So what we decided to do is we actually, and this was chosen by group members, is we offered an opportunity to delve into homework as a singular topic, and then the grading and reporting as another topic. Using the research that we had collected, and we had invited stakeholders to also submit research. We actually split the group in half, and that's what we did, is we studied the topics in depth for quite a period of time, as represented on the screen. The resulting product of that was really, again, to get to the beliefs that are being shared this evening. And that was a great endeavor and a wonderful conversation. So a lot of work was done to get to that point. Phase two also includes information that I have shared with Dr. Brownhall and our leadership team, because again, it's important that is those who are endeavoring to help others get to the points that we're talking about, that we also feel committed to the work at the leadership level. So across all of our departments, it was shared with them so that I could get their feedback as well. So the two books that really drove a lot of the conversation were two texts by Kathy Vatterott. She also drew in a lot of research within her text as well, but we used Rethinking Homework and Rethinking Grading and Assessment. These offered wonderful opportunities for discourse. While these were not the only resources, we also pulled quite a few articles, research briefs, anything that we really could put our hands on to inform ourselves on this topic. It was really through these book studies that a lot of the conversations that I'm talking about really came to life. This author in particular is a highly regarded researcher and writer on this topic. When we actually looked at some of the other research, they actually all cite themselves and others. So it got to be a very small circle of who was being researched and read about. But other citations certainly pointed back to these two particular texts, but numerous articles, research briefs, and those included work from Hanover. You may know we have a subscription that also afforded us an opportunity to gather a lot of information on the topic. So with phase one, and there are several slides that talk about what we did. First of all, we reviewed the charge with the committee. We wanted to be sure that they were clear on what it is that we were setting out to do. We did also review Board of Education Policy 8440. You may be aware and know, and our public may also be aware, is that's a very unique policy to the Williamsville Central School District. There are very few districts that have a policy on homework as a standalone topic, and ours is quite a bit longer and more detailed than you would typically see, but we did look at that policy. We also read, review, and discussed other texts and formalized text protocols. It was very important, especially knowing that there may be differences of opinion, different experiences shared. We wanted to make sure that every voice at the table was able to be heard, even though during times where there was not complete agreement on topics, because that's where you actually get to hear different perspectives. And I think there's a lot of growth to be said that come out of that. We broke into the subgroups, did our book study, and as a result, that's how we came to the set of beliefs that was really drawn upon the research and not just an opinion. So we really pushed each other's thinking. I think there was a lot of growth in that room. But I would also say, and I think this is where we really came to, is there's more that was similar than the dissimilar. And again, remember, they're also representing larger groups of people. So in the meantime, I'm talking with building principals. We're talking at levels meetings. Teachers are talking with their colleagues in the buildings. I am so proud and so fortunate that we have a wonderful relationship with our bargaining units, and they have been exceptional in this work. We could actually not do this work without having the partnerships that we have. So by no means is any of this work intended to be imposing on either the adults, the children, and I would even say the families. These are really oriented to be a position of strength that we already have and just growth that takes us to our next step. So the full recommended set of the beliefs are included in the PowerPoint or slides this evening. So anyone who may want to wish to review those is certainly welcome to do that. I will not read all the bullets, but I will go through the underlying thoughts and ideas that really drew us to these particular things. We wanted to make sure too, and this was a really fine point that actually grew as a result of other work we were doing, is alignment with our strategic plan and DEI plan. So a lot of the terminology, some of the positions that we have taken, things that we're supporting will not be unfamiliar to you or to our school community. They are very firmly grounded in the language of the strategic plan, and I will illustrate that a little bit as we go through tonight. Our educational objective is always student-centered. So again, it's keeping the students at the forefront of what we're doing and ensuring that through that we're illustrating what it is that we're doing in support of students. So some of the things that came out in the conversations were ensuring that we are nurturing student curiosity, excitement for learning, and certainly anything like homework, we are making sure that it is grounded in something that is meaningful for students. The reason I mention that is because, I mean, we've all been in school. We were students ourselves. Our families were as well. Homework should not just be a routine and compliance. It shouldn't just be something we expect because it's something we've all done in our lives. So with that being said, we do rely on our teachers as the professionals in the classroom to purposely select opportunities for students to practice. Something that we've talked about a lot is checks for understanding, because that is really what homework is. And there are times where, you know, volume may be a little higher or a little lower, but we are trying to pay a lot of attention. This is where some subsequent conversations need to happen. We've talked about looking at the quantity of homework. Certainly the purpose will drive that too, and understanding there's variation. So for example, in college level courses or an AP course, it may of course be a little bit more, but we recognize that a measured amount of purposeful homework aligned to the standards in our classroom learning with explicit connections to current and previous learning is really what is the most beneficial for students. You may ask, and one of the bullets on the slide speaks to homework being culturally responsive. And this is something we really took a lot of time talking about, because again, this isn't just a term that we take lightly, but it's also a term that might not be globally understood as far as what our intent is. So the things we're talking about is avoiding assumptions about students' experiences and knowledge, recognizing conditions around homework completion that may impact whether or not students are able to complete their homework, ensuring that homework assignments do not reflect bias, stereotypes, or insensitive or inappropriate language or concepts, offering differentiated opportunities, elevating student voice and choice. So again, there comes a differentiated part in there. Inviting opportunities for students and families to make contributions where appropriate, assuming that verbiage in homework assignments applies to all. So our language should be inclusive. So, and last but not least, assuring that access to the necessary resources are there for students to complete their homework. So that needed its own conversation in and of itself, but fortunately also because of our work with the culturally responsive and sustaining framework and our DEI plan, as well as our strategic plan, that really advanced the conversation quite a bit. Moving on, we want to make sure, again, that the purpose for homework is very clear. Completion of homework really, oftentimes we look at it as, again, it's completed, it's not completed, it's more of a compliance-driven. The frame we'd really like to set forth is one of that it's differentiated where possible, that it's responsive to the student learning, and that it should be able to be completed with a minimum or none adult intervention. I know that we hear I heard Denise explain some of the stories that she may hear from families. This is probably one of the comments that we would hear mostly at elementary, but sometimes at the middle school level, is that the amount of time it takes the family member, whether it be a sibling or someone who is at home or someone who may not be home, the amount of help a student may need We never want someone to be at home struggling, whether it's the student or the family member or the person who may be accompanying, or if someone is not there. Those are things we really take to heart. So a large part of this is really also predicated on open communication between the school and the home. We do not want struggling. We do not want disconnection. And we also don't want anyone discomforted by this experience. So it's going to be critical that that conversation continues so that that is not the case. And first and foremost, again, this is grounded in instruction and it's grounded in student learning. So that really compels all of us to look at what we are assigning and the purpose behind it. So going on to assessment, here we are really centering around a shift of to some degree to ensure that learning outcomes are more holistic in nature. So we're not looking at assessment as an event, but rather an opportunity. I think we hear stories and it can relate to test anxiety, things that students are discomforted by. It's something that oftentimes we're not looking forward to. It could be very uncomfortable at times, or it's a one-time, just-in-time snapshot. Those may be needed as far as a just-in-time snapshot, but we're really compelling ourselves again to look beyond, and the state is doing this now, as you know, also, just a test being the singular measure. I'm very happy to say that is not the case in our school district. There are many opportunities, and I think this does echo our strategic plan intent for project-based learning, hands-on learning, inquiry-based learning, and other opportunities. It's not to say that tests are unimportant. There's certainly a time and place for that type of assessment, but really looking at what type of assessment, what type of student evaluation of learning is most appropriate and useful at that given time. And that is where we really strongly rely on the expertise of our teachers and our practitioners at the building to help us evolve that conversation. It became apparent too that we need to make sure that the focus remains, though, on what students know and are able to do. That is really what the purpose of assessment is. So a whole conversation emerged, and certainly the timeline, you can understand why this was also the case, is around the non-academic indicators that may need their own conversations or updates made to parents. So in the next steps, you'll also notice I've mentioned different types of committees and works that we will undertake. We really need to be able to distinguish and separate the knowing and understanding with the habits and some of the, I'll say, other types of skills that we want to make sure we're talking with parents about and that parents can talk to us about. But that's why when looking at a grade, and I think we've all seen several presentations at this point, from different entities and individuals, a grade can encompass a lot of different things. So what we're really striving to do is have some level of consistency when it comes to how we actually get to a grade, and also that they may not be numeric in nature. So moving forward, there are things like standards-based outcomes and assessments and indicators that also may make their way, for example, into some progress reports or report cards, and that will actually be in the next evolution of the work. But the evidence that we're looking for is to inform us rather than for points to rule us. And I think if, anything mathematically explaining what an 80 may mean or an 85, even when looked at on paper, they're not all equal. They may not all mean the same thing. So anything we share, whether it's as a school community or with parents, guardians, or caretakers, we want to make sure that we're able to explain and really go into great detail about how we arrived at our conclusions about students. So it's going to be really important that with our work moving forward, and this again is going to be a collaborative endeavor with our teachers, with our administrators, and really looking at what is the best way to share some information. And we also want parents to share with us what would be most helpful to know, because we send home a lot of information, and certainly report cards and progress reports are no exception, but we want to make sure they're useful and helpful to the individuals that we're communicating with. So that is going to be part of our endeavor as we move forward. We also realize that students learn differently and at different paces. So the opportunity to grow in your own learning, we all can relate as we're learning a skill. When we first start out with something, we may not be at full mastery of it, and that's okay. What is that opportunity for growth? What does that look like? And how does that make its way into our grading and reporting? Because we also want to acknowledge that too. So it isn't just where we ended up, it's the growth that we've made in the process. So we have articulated a lot on these slides. One of the things that we are doing moving forward is ensuring, and this will come through very targeted professional learning, is ensuring that we're having conversations with all of the people I've mentioned along the way in this presentation to say, what does this look like now? How does this look and live in our classrooms and in our schools? And what are some of the things that we strive to continue to accomplish? And how can we support you, we being ourselves here and colleagues at the building? How can we all support each other in getting to our next steps? But what we are striving really to ensure is really recommend the recommendations coming to life. So when I got into the phase 2, it's really trying to articulate based on that research and the beliefs, what are we looking for moving forward? We need a balance with the work, the play, the family time, the sleep, and our homework grading and reporting. These are all things that are things we experience, our families experience, and we want the most and highest level of experience for our students. In order to get that, it really is about balance. When you look at a student's day, it's very jam-packed. When you look at our families, parents, caregivers, colleagues, work colleagues, no matter who you are, the days are packed. So we know that, we understand that, and we've all, to some degree, lived it or know somebody who's lived it. So there's a very realistic, I believe, very practical aspect to this work. So we don't want it just to be theoretical or something that lives on a shelf somewhere. We're wanting to make sure that this is really the way that we're going to be moving forward. We also would like to talk about the volume of homework. So although right now this does say utilize a 10-minute rule for homework, we have to see if that's going to be realistic. What that rule actually says is, this is in a lot of the research, is that you multiply the 10 minutes by the grade level that the student happens to be at, and that's the amount of homework that typically is given at that grade level. It's not absolute. It's not always true in every circumstance, but what we also do have to talk about is, if you're in 5 classes and you're getting homework from all of the classes simultaneously, it's not always possible if they're all multiple hours to accomplish everything in one evening. There are also some practices that we know are not going to be ones that we want to support. So something like assigning something before you leave for the school day and expecting it to be handed in at midnight the same day, that's really, not something we really wish to have our students experience. And the other one might be something like, we're going on winter break, we assign something as we're leaving and it's due at 8 a.m. when we get back. We're just wanting to be more mindful of allowing for some time frames to be a little bit more allowable. So with that being said, we do want to make sure too, homework is not used typically for introduction of new concepts or as a summative assessment also. Again, these are not absolute. There are going to be times and places. So I know some of you are familiar, for example, with a flipped classroom. You may see some new concepts there. So the key is the bullets are never meant to be inclusive of every situation that we're going to encounter, but they are general guidelines, thoughts, and ideas that we're really trying to delve into a little bit more to see what we can do with these. And certainly prioritizing the quality over quantity is going to be a big part of it. I've already spoken to a lot of the bullets on this page, so I won't go through a lot of this. And, I neglected to mention, and I would be remiss in doing so, we need to really not just to have students as the subject of the homework or the people who are, being assigned the homework, is they are also active participants. That's where that student voice and choice is going to come in. What are some of the things that they would like to have as some of the ways that they reinforce their learning or checks for understanding? So what we're looking at for assessment purposes, just to summarize, assessment is outcomes-based, varied assessments, opportunities that allow for growth and remediation. I mentioned about the separation of the academic and non-academic. And also we would like to explore more of a use of observational rubrics for some of these non-academic competencies. So that will speak to some of the next steps that we're looking at. And then just in summary, as I mentioned, we are planning a widespread, really deep dive into sharing the beliefs, getting people to share with one another in our school community, how they are already approaching. So beyond the committee level, some of the things that are happening at the buildings, there are some absolutely phenomenal practices, policies, procedures, things that are going on already in our classrooms and at the building level. So more of sharing opportunity on these topics. We want to ensure that the focus, again, is student proficiency and growth as well as mastery. we want to make sure that we are implementing consistent practices. So where we see disconnects or something that could be a growth area, we want to make sure that we're also paying attention to that. The 3 areas we know right now that are going to be endeavors that we must undertake as projects moving forward in the near future and starting this school year are report card revisions, which may again, not all be accomplished in 1 year, but certainly that's going to be a piece that we will look towards, and that includes progress reports, assessment redesign, that's going more towards some of the opportunities that allow for projects and things of that nature that I already mentioned, and then best practices in these topics. We will want to pilot some of the practices. I think it will be very remiss to just put a whole new system in place and just say, we're all, throwing everything out. That is not the intent. We want to be able to strategically pilot some of these components in a phased-in approach, and we want to make sure we continue to support things like student-led conferences. These are already happening in some of our schools. So again, it might just be an expansion or further opportunities with that. We are certainly going to continue with any additional research and expert collaboration because we have experts in our own district here, and also continued professional development. That's going to be very key as we're moving forward. And last but not least, because there are so many stakeholders involved in this, we need additional communication to our school community. So last and in closing, I will also add, and you are certainly aware, and our public may be aware, as New York State has committed to quite, I would say, advancements beyond where we already are as a state. Regions have been talked about a lot. You're familiar that the Blue Ribbon Commission in November of 2023, this work is certainly a continued discussion, and certainly the graduation measures initiative. And both of those set forth some really strategic points that we want to make sure align with the efforts and endeavors that we've committed to in this plan. So a lot of the language, I'm happy to say, you'll see a lot of that mirror each other in these documents. So with that, I will conclude and certainly take any questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bellin, for that detailed report and for all the work that the committee has put into this homework and grading, the beliefs that you bring about, and the recommendations. So thank you very much for all of that, and to the committee members.
Well, I appreciate that, and I would like to do a special thank you, if I might, Dr. Chris McGinley, our Director of Math and Computer Science, as well as Linda Ruay, our Director for Professional Learning. We're really instrumental in leading a lot of the efforts of these groups over the years, and I wish to thank them both for all of their efforts and hard work. So
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, questions. Yeah, Dr. Singh has a question.
Thank you, Dr. Bellin. I just had one quick question. When do you envision seeing this implemented in our schools?
Yep. So what we have to do, this is going to take some time. This is a lot. And I also want to ensure, and I think you can tell by the way I've qualified a lot of the comments, is this is not something I want anyone to perceive as being done to anyone. This is something we all have to talk about and really talk about how the implementation looks. As far as the time frame, professional learning this year will include all of the elements that I mentioned. So that's already a plan on that front. I've already been talking with our union leaders and our directors about report card committees, because the way we get our representation is we work together. We reach out to our groups at our buildings, and I work with, for example, the WTA and WA to ensure that we have committee representation. But we had designs before COVID, as you can see, to start looking at some of those reporting documents and what we're sending home. We need to get back to, and we've advanced the conversation quite a bit. So now is the time to get back to that work. So that will also be beginning this year, but it is not a feasible task to do all of it in 1 year or all of it across all.
So
grade
it'll
levels.
be
It's
gradual.
Yeah.
It'll be
it will
gradual. There's no
Yeah.
end date by which we must have it done. It'll be gradual. A lot of it will develop from the work of the committee, and we will take it. We will pilot certain things here and there. The professional learning opportunities are very important. So what it does, it gets everyone talking a common language also, but this will be gradual work, Dr. Singh. Any other questions? Mr. Viscalia.
Mine's more just of a comment in terms of implementation. Hearing that it's going to take time is important. Understanding this is not, you can't do this in 12 hours. I liked and enjoyed hearing, in phase 2, focus on skill, practice, and understanding and checks. and using homework as culturally sensitive as all communities change. Some families have different resources at home that can help students complete homework. Some may not. Some may be working, families working double shifts. I think it's important to understand that, as educators in the grading policy and what you're doing in terms of homework to remember that.
Absolutely.
And I also liked hearing about, where was it? Apologize. More feedback over grades. Studies have shown, the board actually had a presentation at one of our board retreats where, homework can't ultimately show what every student can complete or do. As student A may be going home and dad's doing the homework and the teacher doesn't know. It's where student B is on their own working their tail off and, may not understand the concepts completely, where that should be more of an indicator of where students are falling short and where we can help them. So I liked hearing those two things when we begin to implement this and look over it. Because those were two things that I wanted to hear when you were doing your presentation. So I was happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bill. Oh, Mr. Bueller.
I just wanted to say that
Slow hands.
this is difficult because the ground is shifting underneath your feet with New York State sort of shifting away from the region slowly, if not quicker than we think. And that homework is going to somewhere play a bigger role, I think, in the way we grade students, whether we like it or not, because it's going to move to portfolio or capstone work. And so even though we're trying to reform homework, if that's the right term, it's still going to have a role. And I guess the goal is to figure out how to best use it to get the best out of the kids.
Yes.
And that's hard work because the ground is literally shifting under your feet as we speak.
That's why it's going to be very important, and thank you for reiterating that point, is that what we do has to align with all of these other happenings that we have. So we are very aware of, the conversations and what's unfolding, but those are still unfolding too. So we're keeping a pulse on that, and certainly we'll make sure that all of that is one conversation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bill.
Thank you.
Board President, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the presenters, and thank you to everyone in the district that are working on all these amazing initiatives that we have going on right now. Moving on to item 8A, Dr. Brown Hall already announced this, but we do have an upcoming community forum that's being held on September 28th, 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And again, the location is to be determined. Just want to confirm that all board members are able to attend. Mr. Bueller, you will be unable to attend.
Unfortunately, I just found out I'll be out of town.
Okay. Dr. Spicer?
Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend either.
Okay, so as of right now, all board members except for Dr. Spicer and Mr. Bueller, thank you. Moving on to ECSB and NYSBA items. ECSB's Back to School Dinner is on August 22nd. Attending from the board are board members Poulin and Fletch. Prior ECSB and NYSBA events are listed in board docs. Would any attendees like to report on any prior event? Yes, Vice President Poulin.
I will just report very briefly on the Western New York Law Conference that Dr. Spicer, and most of the leadership team from the district was attending. I will write up my liaison report, just haven't gotten to it yet. But I did want to just highlight for the board a few of the things that were in the keynote address as things that are currently sitting on the governor's desk that are going to potentially draw some attention. One of those is that it will require facilities that can have an occupancy of 1,000 people or more to have an EpiPen available, as well as someone knowledgeable in how to use that. Another is that requiring school districts to have a policy regarding heat in the buildings, that if classrooms get to the temperature of 82 degrees, that students would have to be dismissed early, and that buildings would not be occupied if the temperature reaches 88 in the buildings. So that's something they're our air conditioning project
If you,
couldn't be
yeah,
more timely.
you have to take the temperature in the classroom 3 feet above the floor in the center of the classroom,
Middle.
right?
Yes.
Yep, that's going to be a new
That is
principle.
correct.
To run around and do that.
Absolutely. There's all these stipulations. Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Thermometer.
Yeah, teachers cannot breathe on the thermometer, so that won't work. Seatbelts would be required on all chartered buses, so any charter buses that we would use for field trips or whatever would be required to have seatbelts. Something I'm going to talk about a little bit more is the requirement that all school boards have a student member, but I will talk more about that later. So that's just a couple of things on the agenda.
Yeah, and I don't have too much more to add. I appreciate, and for those who don't know, the law conference, that keynote piece is really critical because it's bills we can anticipate and highlights of recent legislation. So it really gives us a great 10,000-foot view of what's going on or what we can anticipate, and we compare it to the work that we're doing as a district. So it's incredibly eye-opening, and I, like Ms. Poulin, will also work on my liaison report. But, there were updates on special education, on the Title IX 2024 ruling, which took into effect on August 1st, as well as some interesting social media presentations that we attended as well. So I appreciate being able to attend the conference on the behalf of the district.
Thank you. And I'm very happy to report that every member of the leadership team was in attendance at the law conference. So it was very, very well attended by our leadership team. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you to all who attended. Is there anyone else that wanted to report on any other event? Okay, moving on. Correspondence was received by the board regarding Title IX information, social media safety, and staff input. Moving on, we are have a motion to approve agenda items 10 minutes, 11 liaison assignments and NYSBA convention, 12 personnel, 13 business and finance, 14 exceptional education, special needs and student activities, 15 instruction curriculum, and 16 district facilities and support services as presented. Mr. Buscaglia, and second by Mr. Bulin.
On the question.
Any discussion?
Thank you. 16B. So this is we're going to basically contract with NYSERDA on this is about the zero emission buses and what the district responsibility would be for the charging stations and so on. So a couple questions. Who's responsible for purchasing the buses? Does our STA, Student Transportation, purchase and then we lease through them, or how does that work?
Yep, they purchase, and we have our agreement, our transportation agreement with STA, but they will be the ones responsible for purchasing the electric buses.
So do we know that they're going to purchase like the traditional electric buses, you plug them in, or are they looking at a hydrogen fuel because that's another zero emission bus? I just don't know if, I want to vote for the resolution, but does anybody know, Mr. Kelly, Dr. Brownhall, do we know if they're going
and what
zero emission, what zero emission direction are they going in?
Well, we don't know. We haven't had that conversation with STA yet, because of course we have until 2035, right? And that the legislators are attempting to push that out further. Right now, this is the study that we must undertake. That's what the $23,000 is for the study that we must undertake. But we don't know yet with that STA partnership what they're planning on.
So the 2035 is that you cannot purchase a new bus. I'm sorry, all buses must be zero emission.
Correct.
They can't purchase any buses, any non-zero emission buses after 2027.
I believe it's 2028. But yes.
So the further question or concern is that we have I think a 5-year contract with STA, which will 2027. You're right. 2027. Thank you. So we have a 5-year contract, which 2027 will cover. I mean, is there an unanticipated cost the district might have to bear if STA says in 2027, 2028 that we have a contract for X amount of dollars for services, but now that they're going to start buying buses, because it says they have to start buying buses in 2027, and that all buses must be zero emission by the 2035.
Right.
It's a multi-part question.
Right. It doesn't say they have to start buying buses in 2027. Any new buses.
New buses.
Right. So if they were smart, right, they buy all the new ones in 2026. But
Right. They'd buy the old.
Absolutely. If I was but that's what it says. But no, we
Gives them,
haven't,
7 years of.
7, 8 years, right, may even go further. But no, we haven't had that conversation with STA. We don't anticipate us seeing a spike, but we have not had that conversation with STA yet.
Whether they're going electric or hydrogen.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Were there any other questions, Dr. Singh?
I just had a question regarding 13N, business and finance. When you have the management of reserves, I mean, it's very possible I misunderstood, but is there a reserve for health insurance for employees too?
It what union? Well, the WTA has their own health insurance reserve that they manage. Is that what you're referring to?
Does the district also have a reserve for the providing health insurance for teachers?
Non-WTA.
Non-W.
Yeah.
We have unemployment reserve. I don't believe we have a health insurance reserve.
Employee benefit reserve.
Employee benefit reserve.
And
we have all the reserves there, Dr. Singh. I'm going through it right now. Do you see it?
I don't see under health insurance. So I was just looking at maybe it's under some other name.
Employee benefits, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know which page number it is? Okay, I couldn't find it.
What's under reserves? Yeah, I see them. It's under.
Okay, on the first slide. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And just
if you go to the first page, one of 14, and you go down under workers' compensation repair, and then employee benefit, it's right there.
Okay. And just one comment on item 16A, which is the
Security Capital Project final cost summary.
I just want to compliment the team for coming $1.5 million under budget.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other board comments or discussion before we move on? Okay, so we are now voting on the consent agenda items. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We approved several new appointments this evening. I would like to congratulate the newly appointed principal at North High School, Andrew Bowen, the assistant principal at South High School, Scott Bilak. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. If not, you can correct me. And principal at High Middle School, Adam Buffamonte. You are all welcome to step up to the podium and say a few words. And let's congratulate them.
Thank you so kindly. Thank you, Board of Education, Dr. Brown Hall, and the entire leadership team for the incredible honor to be the next principal of North High School. I'm profoundly grateful and deeply excited to return to a school that holds a very special place in my heart. And as any good Spartan will tell you, we love a good homecoming. North High School is more than just a school. It's a strong community with a rich legacy and a promising future. Our mission is to not just educate, but to inspire, to empower, and to prepare our students for the future. I look forward to embarking on this journey with everyone. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your support and your commitment to our collective success. Here's to a new chapter filled with opportunity and achievement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Brown Hall, Board of Education, and leadership team. I want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to lead not only in the district that I attended, but also the district that I'm extremely invested in. I also want to echo what Dr. Brown Hall said in thanking all of the teachers, all the district officials, all the district employees that took part in all the interviewing over the summer. I know it's very difficult to come in when it's 85 degrees and sunny out to partake in any of the interviews, but I do deeply appreciate you being there. And last but not least, I want to thank my lovely wife for being my #1 supporter and also my inspiration. So last but not least, I am happy to be a Heim Hawk. Thank you.
And now our Executive Director, Dana Floriano, will read a statement from Mr. Scott Bialek, who is the new Assistant Principal at South High School, who cannot be with us this evening.
To the Williamsville Board of Education, due to a previously planned vacation, I am unable to attend tonight's meeting. However, it was important to me to express my sincere appreciation for my appointment. I am deeply honored, excited, and humbled to be part of Williamsville Central School District in my role as Assistant Principal at Williamsville South High School. I'm eager to begin our work and to get to know the students, staff, administration, and community. I would like to extend my gratitude to the staff at Williamsville South, as well as the district leadership team for their kindness and warmth during the interview process. To the Board of Education, thank you for your trust and approval. Your support plays a crucial role in achieving our shared goals. I look forward to working collaboratively as we continue our mission to empower all students to develop their unique potential. Thank you.
Thank you, for reading that, Dana.
Are we doing pictures?
Sure.
Our new principals and assistant principal? Thank the following retiree for their service to the district. Suzanne Smith, Facilities Departments, for 33 years of service. Thank you for your service. And I understand that we do have some of the individuals who received tenure tonight, so I want to congratulate those of you who have received tenure. And please know that you will receive an invitation to our reception, which occurs at our June board meeting, which this year is on June 10th. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Please stand up. Recognize you. Congratulations. Very much.
Thank you. Moving on, there are no legislative matters to discuss. Now on policy update, may I have a motion to take from the table policy 2110, orienting and training board members for the second reading and adoption. Motion, Dr. Spicer, second. Mr. Bulin, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Now, is there a motion to approve and adopt policy 2110 as presented? Mr. Manna, Ms. Bleckinger, all in favor? Or I'm sorry, any discussion on this? Any discussion? No. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Does anyone have any matters to discuss under committee of the whole? Ms. Poulin.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, there is a bill on the governor's desk, which may or may not get signed by her, which will require all school boards with a high school, I need to specify that, all school boards with at least one high school to have a student member of the board. In the fall of 2021, I believe Dr. Singh and I went to a leadership conference and we learned a little bit about that back then and kind of floated that idea, so it's just kind of been sitting there. At the leadership and education event that Dr. Brown-Hall and President Kazmarek Bogner and I went to, there was a session on student members of school boards. And we had a panel of students that shared about their experiences, as well as some school board members and administrators from the district who shared some of their processes. With that in mind, I would like to propose that we establish an ad hoc committee to begin to explore what it would mean for us as the Williamsville School Board to have student members, the kind of process that we think would be important to have into the selection of that. And being that we have 3 high schools, how would we have equitable representation? So that's my proposal for us to consider.
Okay, is there any discussion on the matter of having a student school board member? Dr. Singh.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, and sooner or later, this is going to be a legislation which is going to be approved. I think it's a good idea to get ahead of it before we are forced to do it. So I strongly suggest we go ahead with this.
Do we know like the parameters of,
Mm-hmm. We would have to create them.
Well,
the governor going to have one?
The proposed legislation is available. I have read it, so we can look into what is being proposed. Whether or not we choose to follow that explicitly until it's signed would be up to us.
And is the student representative elected by the students, or is it appointed, or we don't know?
That's part of what we would have to look into. There's some real cons to just having a student elected, in that would be a popularity contest. The school districts who were there at Albany that presented had very thorough processes, which included an application process on behalf of the students, interviews, and some other. One of the school districts actually did have a petition, so they had to have, like we do when we're running for school board, they had to have students sign off recommending them for
The
that.
legislation say one or at least one?
The legislation says at least one. You may have more. And if there is more than one high school, there has to be equitable representation of voice. So that's how we would have to pursue that. So that's why I'm suggesting that we form a committee to do some research into that, to talk to some other school districts, to look at some things and consider how we might move forward with that for Williamsville.
Any other comments? It sounds like there's an agreement at least to put this on the next agenda in September. Then we can have further discussion and a vote as to whether or not we want to move forward with having a committee. All right. Would someone like to make a motion to recess the regular board meeting to conduct the goal setting workshop? Mr. Manna, Ms. Bleckinger, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. I call the goal setting work session to order. Dr. Brown-Hall, would you like to begin reviewing the district and superintendent goals, please?
Absolutely. This will be kind of quick because our district goals are our strategic plan goals. Our strategic plan is in effect till 2027. So what you will see in board docs are the updates from January and June of our strategic plan. What I do want to work with our team to begin adding our ratings on each of the goals to see how far along on the goals that we are. And that will give us a clear indication of what we need to spend more time on and what we are close to being successful on. So we will do that for the 24-25 school year. And as far as the superintendent goals, they are listed as superintendent goals because that is the Board of Education's one employee. It's actually our leadership team goals. We actually work on these projects all together, and they are listed in board docs also. And we will continue our special education district work. We have our SEAC and our special education strategic planning committee. Those fall under work that is done in Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo's departments. Our grading and homework committee work will continue. As you saw, Dr. Balen just presented on that. Our school start times committee, that work will continue with recommendations to the board following that timeline in February and March 2025. Our family support center work will continue for 24-25. As you saw that presentation from Dr. Denise Stappenbeck, our green ribbon application for the district, that work will continue. We have our green ribbon committee set up, and we have our two facilitators, Tom Matursky and Tom Bird, and then some of the new goals for the 24-25 school year and beyond, because these are multi-year goals, is development of an AI policy and AI work of the district. We want to begin partnering with the University at Buffalo. Our gifted program, having consistency between our buildings, that is something that will be a multi-year goal. And then our cell phone policy. This is our study year. As you know, all of our cell phone policy research is on our district website. And so this will be also a policy development year, and we will see how far we get with that, slow walking it, because we know that the governor will also be giving us policy on cell phone use in schools for students. So that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Hall. The Board of Education goals are in board docs. At this time, are there any changes or edits to the goals that board members are requesting? Ms. Pullen.
And this may be premature and something for us to consider next month, but under our governance goal, a sub-goal could be the examination of a student member. So
Absolutely. And we will be approving the goals tonight and looking at implementation and action steps at our September meeting. So we can definitely look at adding that. Any other comments? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn the goal setting work session? Dr. Spicer, second, Mr. Manna, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Now may I have a motion to return to public session? Ms. Fletch, Mr. Bullen? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion? I'm sorry, I've lost my place. Hold on one second.
second public expression.
Thank you so much. Okay, 22A, second public expression. If anyone in the audience would like to speak at this time, please step up to the podium.
No. 22B.
I will go back to that. Yes, thank you so much. May I have a motion? There are no members that want to speak for public expression, so I'm.
Ona does.
No, she doesn't.
Oh, you moved forward.
Bluffing. That's a better view.
I'm moving back to item 22B. May I have a motion to approve and adopt the Board of Education goals as presented in 21D? Mr. Bullen, second. Dr. Singh, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 24, this concludes our regular board meeting. Our next scheduled regular board meeting is September 10th. I hope that everyone enjoys the remainder of August and their Labor Day weekend and has a wonderful start to the new year.
Very nice.
Is there a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting? Ms. Fletch, Mr. Biscaglia, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Good night, everyone.